Welcome to episode 7 of the Fight Night Forecast, where we highlight, recap, and cover all things boxing. How's it going, Justin?
Not bad, brother. Not bad. How are you?
Good, good.
This weekend, man, we had really one main bout. There was, a few smaller ones here and there, lower time pro cards, but Clarissa Shields and Cornejo, they had a fight there. Clarissa walked away with it. She unanimously won. So yeah, Cornejo did a good job, and I think that she hung in there, and she did good for being a late replacement. But yeah,
2 or 3 week notice, man. So
yeah,
that's a huge call to fight the greatest woman of all time. So not too bad to last all 10 rounds. And yeah,
right. I mean, she did really good. Like as good as you could do against Clarissa Shields. I feel like this is probably one of the biggest fights she's been in. I think that she, from what the broadcast is saying, she was like a two-sport athlete. I didn't know much about her, but two-sport athlete. She's a fit, athletic girl too. Like she's no slouch, man. She's like I think someone said she did bodybuilding or something like that at one point too. So she was like, very athletic, had power. I think she just more than anything got lost in the moment, and realized, hey, it's tough when you're fighting someone that they're calling like the best female fighter ever, but by no means did she like get mollywopped. I just don't think it almost seemed like she didn't go in there with a game plan. She went in there, and it's easy for us to say being people that are not in the ring, but it just almost seemed like she just went in there and she was just trying to survive. Like just try to make it to 10 rounds pretty much. Like I never saw like a game plan implemented and like her trying something. It was just like her moving around the ring. It was just, I don't know. It just didn't seem like it was like super dialed in. Like I think she went in there with a game plan and exploited weaknesses. I think she could have done a lot better than she did, which I think that, if I'm not mistaken, the cards were all like 190. I think there was like one card that was 189. So they actually gave Clarissa Shields like a 10-8 round in one of them. But I didn't. I just watched highlights of it. It showed me every round. I didn't see any knockdowns, so it must have just been a round where she didn't land hardly any punches or something. They gave her that 10-8. But yeah, so it was a pretty dominant performance from Clarissa Shields, like a lot of us expected it would be.
So Justin, you have some news and developments for us?
Yeah, man, there's actually quite a bit that happened in the past week. There's a little bit of update in the aftermath with Haney and Loma. Haney is pursuing to appeal the fine that he got for pushing Loma, and Loma actually is trying to do a rematch, and Haney is denying that. He's saying that he doesn't think that that a rematch is warranted, and really, I think at the end of the day, it's because he's probably trying to push to get a fight either at 140 or a Shakur or Tank fight. I think he's just ready to move on, which sucks because I know a lot of people that thought Loma won or think Loma had a good chance of winning if there was a rematch. People might be a little upset about that, but I don't believe there's a rematch clause in the contract. So, it just kind of comes down to what the teams decide and if they feel that that's the best step for their fighter. So we'll look more into that and see what comes of it. But I wouldn't really hold your breath, just the way boxing is nowadays. All right, so in other news, we got a little bit of a fight rumor coming around. Caleb Plant tweeted out that he's got another big fight lined up. He didn't drop a name though, so I'll be on the lookout for that. I'm thinking personally, it's got to be either David Morrell Jr., Jamal Charlo. I'll be surprised if it's Jamal Charlo, but it could be, or Boo Boo Andrade. So we'll see. I think any three of those fights will be a good fight. I thought maybe that he was going to announce that it was going to be on the undercard of Spence Crawford, because they really haven't announced a full undercard yet for Spence Crawford. So um, I was kind of hoping maybe, man, that'd be a cool addition. Get to see two of my top three favorite fighters on the same card with Caleb playing and Spence, but could still happen. But same thing there. Not gonna hold my breath on that.
I like Caleb's post Canelo career. Like
Yeah,
he didn't have to go in there with Durrell and Benavidez, and I feel like he got that Canelo fight and picked up some experience and put his name at that top of the division if it wasn't already. And yeah, it just seems like he's taking the tough fights, really kind of
yeah.
shutting up the haters and the doubters, and he's putting himself out there, which a lot of these young guys aren't.
You're right. You're right. I think that his biggest thing is he just keeps saying he wants the biggest fight possible. He's been tweeting out all kinds of stuff saying like Mr. Big Fight, nice to meet you, this and that, blah blah blah. So yeah, man. So I love it as a fan of him too, just to see him in the best fights possible, and um, he's on his revenge tour is what it is. Is what he is his like staple right now is a revenge tour. So I think, man, I think that if he gets a win or two over some of these big names, I could totally see him getting either Canelo rematch down the line, depending on what happens with Benavidez and all of them. And I don't know, man. Yeah, I agree. I like that he's pursuing these big fights, man. So it's just exciting to see your favorite fighter, be active and move into these big career stepping stones. So, but yeah, in other news, Jaron Ennis announced he's fighting on July 8th. So has not released an opponent. I'm sure they already have the opponent. They just haven't had the official release of the opponent yet, but he posted on his Instagram. So that'll be coming up here pretty soon. He's already been in camp for 4 weeks. So I mean that's just about a month away now at this point. So yeah, that fight's coming up here. So in another fight announcement, George Kambosos is going to be fighting Maxie Hughes. So it's good to see Kambosos, coming back. This is Kambosos' top ranked debut also. So he's now a top rank. So excited to see what they do with him, how they move him forward and get him back to a title shot. Another announcement this week, Emmanuel Navarrete is fighting Oscar Valdez. I didn't see on the post, I didn't see a date on that. I'll update you guys on that, but that'll be coming up this summer. I want to say it was in August or something like that. So pretty cool. People have been wanting that fight for a minute. And I know Valdez has been calling it out. So
Said I like that fight.
I do too. Stylistically, I think it's gonna be good.
He throws punches and bunches, and Oscar in his last outing and maybe even before that, kind of has that, I guess I'll call it Team Reynoso style. His last outing just a couple weeks ago, it was very, I'm going to stalk you. I'm going to load up on a big shot. I'm going to stalk you, hit you to the body, load up to a big left hook, So Navarrete doesn't have that. He has more of the punches and bunches, high volume. So that'll be a good one. I want to see that one.
Yeah, I think it'll be good too. Man, I love boxing right now, man. Like boxing is making it so easy for us to talk about it right now, man. They're just lining up these great fights left and right. Update in the heavyweight division. That's been kind of stagnant, man. I'm not sure we've even really talked about the heavyweight division since we started this podcast, but Anthony Joshua is lining some fight up, I believe, in August. So the quote from Eddie Hearn, he says, our plan remains the same. Fight in August and then Deontay Wilder in December. So that's from the horse's mouth right there. That's from the promoter. And he said, if we can't make that happen, then we'll look at a Tyson Fury fight. Either one, I'm happy with. Honestly, man, I just want to see these heavyweights fight each other before it's too late. Obviously, I don't want to see Tyson Fury, Deontay Wilder 4, but it'd be nice to see Fury fight AJ. It'd be nice to see AJ fight Wilder. You could throw Ruiz in that mix, Andy Ruiz. Usyk, I mean, I just don't know what's going on. I mean, Usyk's fought AJ twice. I'm not sure I'd be a huge fan of seeing that again. But Usyk, Wilder. Honestly, you could plug and play any of those heavyweights. I just want to see them fight each other at this point. What do you think about that, James? Do you think any matchups you want to see?
Yeah, I'm with you on that. I think we got our fill of Fury Wilder. I was happy that they made those fights, especially the first two.
Yeah.
They gave us some good fights there. Third was action packed and really cool. Yeah, AJ getting in there with Usyk is a step in the right direction. But yeah, I think we need to see, even in America, we still want to see the Tyson Fury versus Anthony Joshua still. I mean, that should have happened already. So AJ and Fury, AJ and Wilder, I'd like to see it. Even though AJ is coming off those losses to Usyk, I still think that he can bring some entertainment. He could be in some good fights. So yeah, we'll see where the heavyweight division ends up. I know that we have some young bucks coming up to kind of, tip the card over, or, make things a little more interesting here in the coming years with Jared Anderson and hopefully my man Richard Torres, even though he's a little undersized for the division. So we have some young talent coming down the pike. So yeah, we'll see how it plays out.
I was reading this. I was either reading or watching this video or something where people were. It was a high-level trainer. He was talking about Jared Anderson, that he believes Jared Anderson will have a good future in the heavyweight division just because Jared Anderson thinks he can beat anybody that he gets in the ring with. And for those of you guys that have never competed before or don't really know much about the sport, mindset is a huge part of it, man. So, yeah, I can't remember who the trainer was, but I was watching and he was just talking about where he's like, Jared Anderson, every time he gets in the ring to spar with somebody, every time he gets in the ring to fight with somebody, he knows he's going to win. So you have that undoubted feeling of winning. He's like, you can bring that, that back to the spirits of the past with Floyd and, Ali and a lot of these, Foreman, all these guys that just knew, that they were a caliber above the people they were fighting. So that was kind of cool, man. I think boxing is in good hands with a lot of these prospects coming up.
All right, next up, we have a very special guest, my friend Gary here. He is partly responsible for getting me hooked on the sport of boxing. It's partially his fault. No, but all seriousness, it's great to have you two guys together in the same spot here with me. A little bit of backstory. When I was preparing for my one and only amateur boxing fight, my bout, rather, Gary was helping me with road work assignments and advice on getting out there and developing a running program to get me in shape. And then in the days and the weeks leading up to the actual bout, Justin, my man, was helping me with my diet, helping me shed a few pounds so I can get on weight. So greatly appreciate you guys being here and very lucky to have this conversation with you today.
Hey, man, yeah. Gary's kind of the reason why this podcast is happening, really, in a lot of ways.
Right.
The OG. I mean? For the sport, we wouldn't be here talking about it.
That's awesome. Well, we appreciate you being here, Gary. And we brought you on to talk a little more about the Josh Taylor TEOFIMO Lopez title fight we have coming up this weekend. I know you've been following TEOFIMO for quite some time now. So give me some thoughts. What do you think of this fight?
Yeah, well, first of all, I appreciate you all. Thank you for having me on. I'm a big fan of your new podcast and just love seeing the passion that you all have, these young bloods have for boxing, keeping it going on. Representing the lid game like you all, representing New York like my boy, TEOFIMO Lopez. So I'm not quite the TEOFIMO Lopez fanboy like Justin is with Caleb Plant, but I'm pretty close.
I should have known that was coming.
Hey, James, you said it. I've been kind of on the TEOFIMO Lopez bandwagon for quite some time now, ever since he kind of burst on the scene with highlight reel knockouts on ESPN. He'd be featured on the Heisman night, after Heisman night with those fights, knocking people out, doing the Fortnite dance. And so very young, exciting fighter. I was kind of the first one that told you, hey, this guy, the takeover, he was going to give Vasily Lomachenko some problems. So he had a big fight against Richard Comey. We watched that one together, James, and knocked him out in the second round. That set up the big fight with Loma. And lo and behold, we got to that fight. And Teo did his thing. He actually beat Loma, unlike Devin Haney. So
I love the hot takes. Let's go, man.
I like it.
you know I was going to bring some hot takes here, but hey, the takeover. Now it has to be a makeover because we know what happened after that Loma fight. A lot of things happened with Top Rank, had the whole Triller debacle, then he had that big loss against Cambosis. Now there's some questions about how healthy he was going into that fight, and I was doing some research and I remember this, but 5 weeks before the fight, a big thing on TikTok where people were doing the body shot challenges, and he took a body shot from the mountain from Game of Thrones 5 weeks before the fight. So there's some speculation that might have led to some of that damage to his throat and his breathing and everything. But anyways, after that Cambosis fight, things started kind of falling apart for him. The home life, his mental state, kind of in question, and just things with his family. So anyways, he moved up to 140. Well, his last two fights he hasn't been as impressive. So if you go back a couple years ago after the Uma fight, Josh Taylor versus Teofimo Lopez, that was one of the top fights that fans were looking for. And now, a couple years later, this is a fight fans fight right now. Taylor's been looking a little shaky since his big win over Jose Ramirez. So both of them have a lot to prove coming up this weekend.
Absolutely. Very well said. Yeah. I think both of them kind of have something to prove this weekend. There's a lot of controversy with the Catterall fight. And then, everything Teo has been going through since pretty much the Cambosis loss. He didn't look great in there with Sandor Martin, but to his credit, it's kind of hard to look good against someone like that. Martin didn't make it easy for him, but so it adds a little bit of interest to this fight. I definitely remember, you were early on telling me about Teofimo very early in his career, and you kind of saw the writing on the wall. And man, like you had mentioned with that explosive knockout of Richard Comey, I mean that was brutal. But we'll see at 140, is he going to have that same explosive power? This is going to be a good test. I watched the Josh Taylor Regis Prograis match a few years back, and man, that was an entertaining fight. Tough, man. That's what really got me sold on Taylor. I mean, I heard of him before that, but he really showed his intestinal fortitude in that fight, because him and Regis were really going toe to toe, throwing some hellacious hooks. And if you guys remember, man, his eye was like the size of it was huge. It was nasty. And I think in the later rounds of the fight, I mean, it was completely swollen. He couldn't see, and it only got worse. And Regis is no slouch. He's a tough out for anybody at 140. So I really gained a lot of respect for Josh Taylor at that fight. And then he looked good versus Jose Ramirez. So man, I'm really interested. Justin, do you have any thoughts on this weekend?
Yeah, man. I think it's going to be a really good fight. I think I agree with both of you guys when you say that they both have something to prove. I think the last two outings for Josh Taylor really leave a lot to be desired. And a lot of people are thinking, hey, does he need to move up in weight? Is he struggling to make the 140? Is he are people just kind of getting his number? Or, and I think with Teo, I know he's had, the loss to Cambosis and all that and some injuries and stuff, but I think the biggest thing that people kind of forget about with Teo is, like, I remember when he burst on the scene, just like Gary said, and I was like, this guy came out of nowhere, right? And fought Loma, and he's fought some pretty good talent since then. He's young. He's such a young fighter. He's right there with the same age as Shakur Stevenson and Devin Haney and all these young prospects, really. But he's already fought like such a huge level of talent that it's like people are almost forgetting that, man, he's only like 24, so he's got so much to learn in the game still, and he's got so much time. And there's so many guys that don't really come into their own or, even find their style or whatever to their late 20s, early 30s. I mean, Josh Taylor's in his, fighting prime, and, you got obviously the big undisputed coming up with Terrence Crawford and Errol Spence, and those guys are in their own pretty much their mid-30s. Teo has plenty of time to develop more and become, his next level, his next form. So yeah, I think it'll be interesting. I think that either guy, whoever wins, it's going to be a big step forward for either guy, I think. All right, y'all. What do we think? Who's the predictions here? Who do you guys got winning? Knockout? Does it go the distance? Who takes it? What do you think, James?
I would say Josh Taylor by decision. He seems a little more seasoned, a little more experienced. He's older in age, been at 140 longer. He's a good boxer. He showed in the Jose Ramirez fight that he can handle some pressure. He can create a little bit of space, take that step back, and make you pay for it. So, yeah, I think in this one, the experienced boxer gets the decision.
And we also can't forget to mention that Josh Taylor is almost James's boxing doppelganger, so I'm sure he's going to go with his his look.
That was before I gained the weight and grew the beard. You should have seen it.
That's funny, Gary. What you thinking, man? I think we all know who it is, but
no surprise. James is going to pick his cousin to win the fight. This is going to be a really exciting fight. Like we mentioned before, both fighters have something to prove. Taylor not only coming off of that tough fight with Catterall, but he's had to deal with a heel injury as well. So that's kind of why that rematch got postponed and just led in straight to this Teofimo Lopez fight. I think the real key to this fight is going to be Teofimo's mental state. There's been a lot of stuff out there. He's been getting on Josh Taylor's nerves with some of his comments and the way he's been acting. Is that him getting his confidence back, or is that just kind of false bravado and he's trying to trick himself into being confident? But if Teofimo, he can get back to his combination punching, that movement, display that speed, not get frustrated in a ring. He exhibited some of that in that Sandor Martin fight. Just not get frustrated, stay in the moment, stay focused like he did with Loma. If he can do all that, and that's a big ask, I think he can do enough to get the decision in this fight. I do think they might trade some knockouts or knockdowns during the fight, but overall, I think Teofimo will win a close, possibly controversial decision. No shock who I was picking there, right?
Yeah, but hey, I like that you were honest with it though about that they'll probably trade knockdowns, and I like that you were saying that it'd be close, possibly controversial. So yeah, I mean Teofimo's your dude, but you gotta be real with it.
How exciting! I would love to see multiple knockdowns, man. Oh,
man, I would too.
And Teofimo's so explosive. Yeah, it's definitely possible. I would love to see it.
I love that you brought up the comments being made, people get on people's nerves, because I watched the ESPN, the trash talk thing they dropped or whatever, and I'm pretty sure that during one of the interviews or one of the sit downs they had or whatever, Josh Taylor actually got up and walked off.
Yeah, he said this guy's a tool and walked out.
Yeah, I'm like, dude, that's crazy, man. So that's getting in people's head, whether you want to believe that or not, that gets in somebody's head and that gets somebody frustrated, and that can affect the fight, whether you want to think it does or not, So thought that was kind of cool. And, obviously it's selling the fight too. These guys, do they really like each other or not? We don't know, but it definitely at this point, it seems like they don't, you know what I mean? So yeah, I think it just makes it even better. So
Justin, your thoughts? You have a prediction for us?
Man, I'm kind of the tiebreaker here, aren't I? I agree with both you guys. I think it's going to be it's going to be a firefight. Both guys have power in both hands. Both guys are explosive. I think that Josh Taylor does have the advantage when it comes to experience, but I think that Teofimo has the experience with Loma that will help. It's not going to outclass. It's not going to be like Taylor is outclassing him in experience. I think with that win over Loma, that really is going to help him a lot. And I think that I'm gonna go with Tio on this, just because he lives up to those big moments, I think. And I think that every time that he's had a fight where he was almost, I don't want to say the underdog, but like almost counted out, right? He's risen to the occasion. And every time he was like not every time, but the few times he's been a big favorite, like with the Kambosos fight, he was a favorite. He kind of dropped the ball. So I think he almost lives up to this like underdog style, like he lives up to that big hype. So I really do believe that it could go either way. I think that I agree with Gary that there'll probably be some knockdowns and it'll be a close call either way. But yeah, I think Tio can rise to the occasion and take it. I really do. So I'll be excited to see it, man. I think it's going to be fun. Quick thing I wanted to ask both you guys really quick while we're on the topic. So what do you guys think is the major key for each guy to win the fight? Like,
We're on the wavelength. I was going to ask you the same thing, Justin.
Yeah. Well, perfect. Hey, let's hear it, man. Let's hear it.
I want to hear James's thoughts first, and then I'll counter.
James Taylor, I think it's a musician, actually. No, but I think if Josh can stay long, control the distance, I think it's gonna help him control the fight. Frustrate Tio a little bit, get in his head a little bit, and then for Tio, kind of to piggyback off what Gary said, the combination punching, the explosiveness, and staying calm, poised, patient. I don't foresee an early knockout. I don't think Tio's going to come in there and just hit him with a couple big shots and Taylor's going to be out. But I think he can do some damage if he's patient and he sets shots up, throws in combinations. So yeah, Taylor, distance control, and then TEOFIMO, patience and combination punching.
Yeah, I had the same points for Taylor to use that height, that reach, keep that distance, but watching the Taylor fights, that's not really his go-to. He wants to go in there and brawl it up. So I think with him, if he's going to do that, make sure to attack that body to try to slow down Lopez, and then try to wear him down and try to put pressure on him in the later, take him to the later rounds. And I think that's Taylor's sweet spot. As far as Tio goes, you hit the nail on the head. He just needs to stay calm, poised, in control of himself. Look for those fast combinations, not trying to go for the one-shot knockout. It seems like that's what he's been doing in his previous fights, instead of against a lesser competition. So he's getting frustrated when he can't put them out. So he can't do that with Taylor. Like you said, it's not going to take one shot. So he's to employ the movements. Get back to that jab too. Double it up. That's what he was doing against Loma. Usually you don't use the jabs too much against southpaw, but I think in this case, if you double up and then follow it up with that right, that's going to be the key for Lopez in this fight. But it's all about that mental game. We know that.
Yes, and he's capable of adjustments, because you were actually the first one to point out the game plan and the adjustments that they made for Lomachenko, that subtle footwork move that they used to kind of nullify Lomachenko's angles. So
yeah, he was pivoting Loma's pivots.
Yeah,
and then coming back with that.
Exactly, and you pointed that out to me actually first, and I was like, "Oh, that's great, that's brilliant." And so I think Team Lopez or TEOFIMO himself or whoever is capable of coming up with good game plans, capable of adjusting to their opposition. So yeah, we'll just have to see if they come in with a good game plan and if he sticks to it.
Yeah, I liked what you were talking about earlier with the father-son dynamic. Sometimes that works, sometimes it doesn't with boxing. And if you recall, in those fights with Richard Comey and even Loma, they had that trainer Joey Gamache helping him out a little bit with some of the game planning. So I wish they could get him back into the fold. But this is just going to be Tio and his dad. See what they come up with for this one. But like you said, I'm excited for this fight, and we'll see what happens.
Awesome.
Expecting some fireworks.
Yes, sir.
A couple weeks before the 4th of July.
What's going on, y'all? Thank y'all for tuning in to the podcast so far. Just want to take a minute to shout out our sponsor, Young Winston. They sent us these awesome hoodies. They sent us a little bit of other gear. Got this wallet. I think it's great. I love it. I actually switched my own wallet and use this. Really easy to use, sleek, nice. easy in and out of your pocket, pull your cards out easy. I love it. They also have things like the old wrist chains. They have a backpack that I also use. It's got a very, very nice, convenient USB port so you can charge your laptop and stuff. It's great. Sleek, durable leather. Love it. Yeah, they gave us a discount code LTR5 for 5% off the entire site, whatever you want. Let's get back into the podcast, guys. Thank you for tuning in. Time of the week, question of the week. And this week, the question is, out of these three promotions, we got PBC, DAZN, and Top Rank. Who do you believe has the best crew of fighters? You know, I think it's tough. I saw this online and I was like, man, I want to hear James's opinion and I want to hear your guys' opinion too. So, yeah, so we got PBC Showtime, Matchroom DAZN, and Top Rank ESPN. James, who do you think has the best stable of fighters out of those three?
I like this. I like taking these questions unprepared and just being surprised like everyone else. No, it's great. All right, I'll give you my thoughts. So DAZN, I had kind of high hopes for when they first came out. The subscription was like pretty affordable. It was like $10 a month or something. And they came in with like AJ. I think they kind of came in with some sort of partnership with Canelo and Golden Boy. They still work with Golden Boy. But yeah, they came in with some big name fighters. So I kind of had high hopes for them. I like the model, the $10 a month subscription. I mean, that's like cheaper than Netflix, but unfortunately I had to up their rates over the years. But right now we'll see. Not super confident, but you know, maybe Eddie Hearn can steer it back on track. PBC had a pretty strong hold on the market for quite some time, especially it seemed like in the welterweight division, super welterweight. They have big names. Tank is a big draw, big sell. But I'd have to say Top Rank has a really promising future. Bob Arum and the boys, whoever's really responsible for it, they picked up a ton of Olympians and have been kind of doing that for a little bit now. Yeah, man, I think currently one of the best stables. And then I think in the future, definitely they invested in the future, it seems like. And I think we're going to see a lot of rising stars out of Top Rank. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I agree with you. I think so. I'm going with PBC. I think PBC has the best stable, man. I think that, you know, you got, like you said, you got Tank, which I know Tank is somewhat kind of a free agent, but he still works with Al Heyman quite a bit. You know, you got Tank, you got Errol Spence, you got, you got Boots Ennis, you have, you know, the Charlos, both Charlos are signed with them.
That was a fun 3 years, bro. I'm just kidding.
I know, but still, hey, we're talking about the stable, not how many times we fight in a year.
Jermell has given us some action.
And we're hoping Jamal comes back this year. I know, you know, they've had some hiccups and stuff, so I like to see both of them back in the ring. But maybe they're not the best example, but still, they're signed. That's their stable.
Big name.
Yeah, big name. So that's all that matters. But yeah, so you know, Andrade is there now too. Demetrius Andrade, he just left his own and went over to PBC. So
Benavidez.
Benavidez.
I mean, he's still a young guy, so he could bring a lot of big fights. That's a good call.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think PBC is the best, but I agree with you on Top Rank. I think Top Rank is a close second. I think you're right with the way they picked up all those 2020 Olympians and those young prospects. You know, and they have Loma and they have Devin Haney and Shakur. Shakur's like, you know, everyone knows my top three. Shakur's my top three favorite. So yeah, I mean, Top Rank's not lacking by any means. And really DAZN has a lot of talent too. Yeah, I would say PBC for me, but Top Rank for sure is a close second.
Hopefully Eddie Hearn can get it back on track. Hopefully AJ starts looking a little better. And maybe this Andy Cruz pickup acquisition will pay off. because
Yeah, I've been seeing that a lot, man.
he beat Keyshawn like something like 4 times in the amateurs, and man,
Yeah.
he was a beast in the amateurs. So if he can transition that into the pros, he could be one of the big guys at 135 in a relatively short time.
All right, so upcoming, we got June 9th down in Miami. We have the Adrian Broner versus Bill Hutchinson. I actually watched the press conference because I was trying to look up highlights from it, because last episode we accidentally said it was last weekend, or this weekend rather. So we apologize for the misinformation on that. I swore, me and James both swore somewhere we saw that it was like June 3rd or 4th or something like that, but it's June 9th. So I apologize again for that. So that's this coming week. I watched the press conference, and Broner just didn't show up to the press conference, which I thought was kind of wild. Don King's kind of like putting this on for him, and even Hutchinson said that. He was like, Don King's literally like sticking his neck out for this dude, to get him back on his career, and he won't even show up at the press conference. But of course, that's just a little bit of back and forth between the fighters and stuff too, so you can't always take that too crazy serious. But then the 10th, the next day on Saturday, we got Taylor and Teofimo Lopez, which we just obviously went into a little bit ago. But on that card, we got Jermaine Ortiz. I'm a big fan of Jermaine Ortiz. I like him, especially after the Loma fight. He's going to be on there. Robson Conceição, who fought Oscar Valdez a few months back, he'll be on that card. And Xander Zayas, one of James's top-ranked boys that he put on his top prospect list. He's fighting Ronald Cruz in an 8-rounder. So this would be a pretty big step up for Xander. If I'm not mistaken, the most he's done is 6 rounds. So this would be a move up for him, which you'll love to see. Then also June 10th, we have Sonny Edwards and Andres Campos. That'll be next Saturday. That's for Edwards' IBF flyweight title.
That sounds good. We have a good summer to look forward to so far, just through June and July, which is awesome.
Yeah, man.
To go back to that Don King card, that Adrian Broner card down in Miami, I actually just saw something online from a young fighter I've been kind of watching, Josh Clark out of Minnesota. His dad has a gym up there in Minnesota. They do, regional events, regional cards up there, and they kind of stay active in the Midwest. But I just saw that he was signing the contract. He's on the undercard of the Adrian Broner fight. So best luck to him. Really cool opportunity. I think he's coming off his first loss, but he's 6-1, a young guy. I think he's multidisciplinary, so he does more than just box. I think he's been in the cage too. I think he's done some MMA. So best of luck to Josh Clark. Bring back the W for us here in the Midwest.
Hey, special thanks to our sponsor, Young Winston. Got the gear set up. I know summertime is, vacation season, man. So this backpack here makes a perfect carry-on for any of your trips, whether you're going to the beach, whatever. So yeah, just hit our code LTR5 in the checkout process at youngwinston.com.
Big thank you to our special guest this week, Gary, for all his insight on the upcoming fight this weekend. Again, that is Saturday, June 10th. Josh Taylor versus Teofimo Lopez. Should be fireworks.
Absolutely. Gary, always good talking with you, brother. Thank you for watching and being willing to come on and talk to us a little bit. Make fun of us a little bit too, but you know what I mean? It's all good. It's all love. But yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. We appreciate it. Thank you for tuning into the Fight Night Forecast. We've had a blast doing this for you guys so far, and it's super cool to see everybody starting to kind of interact with the channel and coming to me and James personally and telling us they enjoy the podcast. So thanks a lot, guys. Please like, comment, and subscribe, and tell a friend about us, and let's keep on trucking, baby. Thanks, guys, for watching.